Scenes from early Sunday morning and later today show just how close this blaze is to Flathead Lake and the homes surrounding it.
From last night to now, it's absolutely rapidly evolving.
The latest on the Boulder 2700 fire and the rest of the state coming up. Missoula prepares to enforce illegal camping and trespassing under the Reserve Street Bridge. Details coming up.
From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for waking up with us here on Montana This Morning. I'm Katie Miller.
This is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Katie Miller. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Katie Miller. We're starting off tonight with the latest on the Boulder 2700 fire burning near Polson. Homes have been destroyed, evacuations are still in place, and the fire is still burning at this late hour. Meteorologist Louis Dortch in this morning. Louis, good morning.
Good morning, Katie. I don't mean to call you out, Katie, but I know you're sitting with a blanket right now. There it is. It's right there.
Don't tell our viewers, but it's pretty cold.
It is. It's chilly out there, Katie. You were telling me your parents had a really good trick that worked for you all when you were younger, right?
Yeah, so we moved out to Montana, and I didn't really have a good grasp of time zones, right? So they'd put on the ball drop, tell us, oh, look at that. They'd tell us
something like this.
Yeah, something like that. Little celebrations on the TV. We hang out, gather around, and they say, oh, Happy New Year, it's midnight, countdown, go to bed. Well, it's, 10 o'clock in Montana. Ready for the holiday, and look at this fun Christmas sweater. Got a little corgi guy on it. That's our director, Brandon, there. I'm Katie Miller in Missoula. The community is rallying behind a 13-year-old boy with pediatric cancer. I got the chance to catch up with Jack Berry as he undergoes treatment for the third time back in Boston. After that 2019 mill levy was passed, MRFD went from 42 to 52 paid firefighters, and 7 of those new guys are something called ALS, or Advanced Life Support. That just means they can offer even more emergency medical services in the field. So now MRFD has 33 ALS staff and 5 more in training. The investigation has since been turned over to the Montana Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation, who say preliminary evidence shows that Galbraith died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But the community and friends and family say they still have questions for police. At a time when many restaurants and small businesses are closing their doors for good, there's an area here in Missoula that's growing. I'm here at the Sawmill District at the new location of the Canby Tap House. And even though they just opened this week, business is already booming. It's actually contrary to the goal of increased safety. So that's what the law says. But for those of you familiar with Hamilton, you might already know there is already a colorful crosswalk just 1 block away from where that proposal would be. And according to Bike Walk Bitterroot on Facebook, it was just repainted earlier this month. The project is being funded by a $1 million grant from the Veterans Administration, as well as some extra funding from the City of Missoula and Missoula County. The Missoula Police Department tells me last year officers eased up enforcement of camping in the city violations as Missoula's homeless shelter was at full capacity during the pandemic. We reported then on a public health and safety hazard as a tent city popped up right outside of the Poverello Center. Now, with the introduction of a new legal camping site near Reserve Street, MPD tells me enforcement is back to how it was pre-pandemic, and officers are issuing citations for code violations. A legal case involving a real estate agent and Missoula area pastor and his statements about the LGBTQ+ community is beginning to draw national attention. The case may be the first legal test of the National Association of Realtors' professional code of ethics when it comes to alleged discrimination against gay and transgender citizens. 1 in 5 women in the United States have experienced, completed, or attempted rape during their lifetime. In January of 2020, there were more than 580,000 people experiencing homelessness in America. There are over 59 million Americans that receive welfare during an average month. 3 different stats that are often interconnected and experienced by many. It's the same story for Tanisha Lang. And while the introduction to Lang's story isn't a pretty one, the ending is pretty remarkable. From homeless to housed to accepted, the Missoula community has helped Lang rewrite her story start to finish. In 2016, we reported on the disappearance of Jermaine Charlo, a 23-year-old mother of two. Now it's been nearly 3 years on June 16th, 2021, and her case still hasn't seen any closure. Native Americans are 4 times more likely to go missing in the state of Montana, and it's been 4 years since Ashley Loring Heavy Runner disappeared from the Blackfeet Indian Reservation. We caught up with her sister, Kimberly Loring, and a new podcast that's highlighting her story.
The answer is in our community.
Just know that there's a forgotten sector of the homeless that are those of us that are responsible adults, and we've just had bad things happen to us.
This is the untold story of homelessness. Jessica is a mother of 3 and has lived in Missoula for the past 3 years. She's from Anaconda and moved out here as an adult. Right now, she lives with her kids, Josh, Jasmine, and Jordan, at the brand new Meadowlark shelter on 3rd Street.
There is no viable options for families with children.
But they won't be allowed to stay there for long, and you can feel her frustration.
It's just, we were promised that we could stay, that we would have our safe place with the kids, and we just all got kind of ripped away.
Jessica and her 3 kids have until the end of the month to pack up.
So we have to leave there on the 29th of this month.
The YWCA operates the shelter and tells me the Meadowlark is intended to be same-day emergency housing. For families like Jessica's, escaping an abusive situation, that can be a godsend.
We're trying to work with these families and provide the resources that we can.
But now, too many families need these services. The YWCA is asking all residents who've stayed at the Meadowlark for more than 90 days to leave.
There are families that will lose their children because they were only given back their children because they were in a safe place, or there's people that, will have to go back to abusive relationships.
The YWCA says it just can't meet the community need.
Families have been needing to stay here longer than we anticipated, and so that's why we've needed to implement a limitation.
The Y does offer numerous resources, including rental assistance and a rapid rehousing program that subsidizes rent for up to 2 years. But if no rental units are available, former communications coordinator Becky Margolis says that doesn't help much.
What we really kind of need is landlords and property management companies that are willing to partner with us.
Margolis says as of last week, there were about 6 families on the waiting list for the Meadowlark, and all 25 private family rooms were full. For Jessica, if she can't find an apartment, the rapid rehousing program won't help at all.
I don't know what to say. It's just very emotional. I cried the whole time because I knew there was nothing else. We had no other options.
She says even working full-time, she's still not sure she'll be able to find an affordable apartment in time.
I've worked at the Housing Authority for more than 25 years, and for the first time, our voucher holders or people who've been issued new vouchers have not been able to find places to rent.
Executive Director Lori Davidson says the Missoula Housing Authority can offer housing vouchers to those in need, but there's usually about 1,400 to 1,900 Missoula area families on the wait list. Jessica says they're number 600.
It's so discouraging. I wish I had a magic wand and I could just create more units.
Jessica, Josh, Jordan, and Jasmine are now looking into hotels, but those are also expensive.
It ends up being $2,200 a month.
And rental assistance from the YWCA and MHA won't cover it.
I really worry about having to live in our car in the winter. I picture the car, I can't keep the car running all the time, or what if the car dies? What if my car breaks down? How do I have a heating source for them? I imagine everybody just freezing to death in the middle of the night.
Jessica said she was willing to share her story because she knows it's not just her or her kids going through this.
It's quite a few families, and maybe their outcomes are more dire than mine. They don't have an income, or they're people that don't even have vehicles, and so what are they supposed to do?
She says she hopes something will change.
I'm hoping it betters the situation for everybody so that something can come of it.
No trespassing allowed.
After years of illegal camping, fires, and trash accumulation, the Montana Department of Transportation is asking residents at the homeless encampment under the Reserve Street Bridge to move.
You're not going to be able to continue to reside here indefinitely.
This is a step, it's an experiment. We are not altogether sure it will work.
Missoula Mayor John Engen says with the addition of a new legal camping site, Missoula will now enforce illegal trespassing.
Law enforcement will have the ability to say, look, you can't camp here, here's an alternative for you.
A reminder, the Reserve Street Bridge is a state road, and much of the property the encampment sits on is state property. Mayor Engen and the Missoula County Commissioners have asked MDT to wait to enforce trespassing laws in the area until there are more shelter options in Missoula. This option will start operating on Tuesday. This is the legal camping site that's on city-owned property that is where those people that are currently under the Reserve Street Bridge will be asked to go. There's 40 spots here where people can come and set up their own tents. There's going to be resources and security on site. Now this is meant to be a transitional place for people to come, get resources, and eventually get into permanent housing.
These are folks who have experienced remarkable trauma in their lives, and their ability to trust is extraordinarily limited, and they've had a lot of promises unfulfilled in their lives. So building that trust and then getting them on the right track is a big deal.
You might remember MDT took some early steps to secure the area near the bridge last year. Vosen says if people refuse to leave, MDT will call law enforcement.
So the 25th is when we will be installing the gates, fixing a few, I think we've got a couple, 3, 4 places in the fence that have been damaged. That'll all get buttoned up, and then at that point we will be asking law enforcement to enforce trespass in the area.
The Poverello Center's homeless outreach team is working with the homeless population to help them prepare for the move.
As it stands right now, I think we're looking at anywhere from 15 to 20 people down there. There's adequate space here, plenty of space for a lot of our folks, not just from Reserve Street, but the entire homeless population to fit in here.
Local government is using federal American Rescue Plan Act funds to set up the site.
I'm super proud that we're doing this. We're actually attempting to address this.
MTN News asked Mayor Engen how he's working to reduce Missoula's homeless population.
Working through our 10-year plan to end homelessness. And I think we collectively don't give ourselves enough credit as a community for all of the things that we do. I believe that the situation would be much worse, but for the fact that we have that 10-year plan and we're intentional about it.
In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News. The public comment period is technically closed, but you can still email comments to solutions@missoulacounty.us. Both the city and county are continuing to look at shelter solutions. For more information, you can visit engagemissoula.com/Operation Shelter. Coming up next on Montana This Morning, a new program in Butte set out to help their neighbors this winter. We'll be back after the break. And anyone with any information is urged to call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News. In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News. In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News. In Hamilton, Katie Miller, MTN News. Well, it's great to be back, and thanks for watching the MTN 530 News tonight. We hope to see you again tomorrow night. Have a good night. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you all for watching K-PAX on this Sunday. Remember to follow us online and on our social media. We're back at 10. Good night.
Is this cold air not going anywhere for the rest of the week?
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that throughout the rest of this week. And thank you so much, Lewis. And thank you guys for joining us today. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.